Nick. I have to redo my research assignment video because I never uploaded. So mine's on mental health, and it's that therapy produces results. It produces, treatment is good for people. It produces, it negates the symptoms. Where on the other side of it, people believe that therapy does not help. The three sources I used, which was a Johns Hopkins University study, neurosciencenews.com, which was an HEPBS, and my last one was an addiction specialist statistics website. So as someone who's in therapy, I do DBT and CBT, and that has become very useful to me. I have BPD, which is borderline personality disorder, and I met the requirements starting in there back maybe about a year and a half ago. And ever since doing therapy, I'm on my path to remission. I'm almost to the point where I do not meet the criteria anymore for this illness. Though I have to deal with this illness every day of my life, I come to a point where I'll be able to not have it. So that brings me to my point. I'm telling you about that because 67% of people that seek treatment in therapy, so whether you have mental illness, BPD, CPTSD, PTSD, schizophrenia, or, anything like that, 67% of the population does not qualify for the criteria, which is really good. Because of that therapy, that means you don't qualify to have that illness. So for instance, if I have 3 traits out of the 5 or 7 that you need to classify BPD as a mental disorder through the DSM-5, I technically would not meet the requirements for that disorder because I don't meet 5. I only have the 3. And that's 67% of the population that seek therapy, which is very wonderful. That it produces results. I also was looking at the studies behind, how many people tend to quit therapy, which is about 20 to 57% based off of their first initial intake, which means they didn't like their therapist the first time. They went in, they didn't like them, they didn't click with the therapist, and they didn't go back. They thought therapy wasn't good for them, they don't need it, whatever, it does not apply to them. So they dropped out and didn't do it again. I do believe those are the same people that sit there and go, oh, you do therapy, you don't need it, it's useless, it don't help. It's a big part of this generation. 47%, in fact, thinks that people who seek therapy is a sign of weakness. Someone who's in therapy, I thought that way for a long time. Thought you'd be crazy, had a weakness if you went to therapy. But now being in therapy, it does wonders. But the part of that in my argumentative is that 20 to 57% of people drop out of this intake. And I think due to that is because they didn't like the therapist. They didn't have the time to go. They were influenced that, you're weak, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. But I think a big reason people do not click with therapists or therapy in general is you have to put in the work yourself. The therapist cannot, he or she can give you the skills and you can do the whatever, and you can tell them your problems, but you have to put in the work day in and day out. So that's a big reason I believe that people quit. That's my against it. That's my throwing in my rebuttal. But my last reasoning for my last site would be that it was researched that 28% of people that seeked mental health treatment, meaning, going to therapy, 28% of people are less likely to commit suicide. 28%. 38% of people who have attempted before are less likely to attempt again while having mental health treatment. Big part of mental health treatment, big part of depression, any bad home life, is usually a big thing about it is suicidal ideation, which can result in someone taking their life in suicide. But because people are seeking therapy, that 28 to 38% will never attempt suicide again, which is a big number compared to how many people attempt suicide on the day-to-day basis, which is really good. So my research and my argument of it is that therapy produces results. It produces results. It is good for you. It is good for you to go, even if you don't have any problems. Good to talk to somebody, good to vent. It produces results. It's not viewed as weak. You're not useless. You can do it. If you do therapy, it will produce results for you. And my rebuttal being, people quit the therapy. I do not think people give it enough time to quit. It's like reading a book. People tell you to read like this amount of pages. People read 5 pages, like, no, I don't like it. You gotta get into it to like it. So like I said, my argument of it produces results, and it really does produce results. It produces wonders, and I do not agree with the whole, it doesn't like produce anything. People are still like worse. And a lot of illnesses, mental disorders, such as myself, like who has BPD, it's a brain disorder, technically. So since it's a personality disorder, it will never go away from me. So it is something I have to live with. So I believe a lot of people believe that, because you have to live with it your whole life, well, therapy doesn't really help. Therapy, to learn the coping skills and everything, I'm never going to get into the basis of this diagnosis because there's a lot that goes with it. But a short thing is BPD is it's emotional disorder. So you have a hard time regulating your emotions and everything. So you might get mad or really mad about something. It's 10 times your emotions pretty much. Being in therapy, it makes you actually be able to cope and deal with your feelings. So it produces results. Therapy produces massive results and is well worth it.